Hello, let's see. Today is June 3rd. Welcome to June. So we got May in the basket. And, the old adage of sell in May and go away, I think that lasted for just a couple of days, and now everything is going right back up again. In fact, today is a pretty strong day in the markets as well. So we're going to be going through that, kind of talking about what is happening, what's going on. One thing I did want to mention here is over here at profitpilot.com. This is my website. And I wrote just the other day, I was like, do divergences matter? Like, when will these things kick in? Because we are seeing some very interesting stuff, and they can persist. Usually the things that we're seeing are issues that you kind of get into a range. One of those, right off the bat, we'll talk about is the put-call ratio. And actually, before I get that, I forgot to get my thing up and recording, so let me get that real quick. But yeah, the put-call ratio, and that is getting awfully low. Very, very low. We've looked at the past to where when it gets this low, it can be an issue. We see that, when that happens, we start to get too many people long. Too many people in calls versus puts. There's nobody left to buy. Now, there are some, let's call them, the personal things that I'm seeing out there, actually. When, I literally just had a friend of mine from Arizona, text me yesterday, and she said, you'd be happy to know I'm a proud owner of 12 stocks. She's like, I couldn't sleep last night, so I just opened a brokerage account. And I was like, oh man. And I was just telling my friend, I was like, this is exactly what's happening. The people they're home, they're trading, the quarantine. We have seen record numbers of people coming into the market who've never been in the market before. TD Ameritrade said they had a record 400-something thousand new brokerage accounts, new accounts opened. Schwab saying the same thing. Robinhood is getting swamped with new people coming in, new money. There's also been an unprecedented and unprecedented number of single contracts getting opened for calls and for options. Sorry, guys. And so what we're looking at is, you think about all this, there's only been, people are only buying one contract, one option. What does that say? That says that they are, one, not an institution, and two, that they're small people coming into the market and just buying one, trying it out, seeing what's going on. And this is very fascinating because we're just seeing the market keep crawling up and up and up. There's another stat, man, I should have pulled it up, but there was an outlay of people in income brackets, across the top, and what they did essentially with their stimulus checks, the $1,200 checks that everybody got. And easily, some categories it was like number one thing that they did, but for the vast majority of people in the middle income, it was their number three thing that they did was invest it in securities, into the stock market. So we talk about the Fed putting money into the market. This is a really very interesting way that the Fed essentially is getting government money into the market, is through people's own decision, their own pocketbook. Oh, I just got a check from the mail, from them. What am I going to do? Might as well go risk it. Maybe I can go make more. Maybe I'm doing all right. There's nothing else for me to do. Let's go put it in there. And I think this is where we just keep seeing an infusion of money in here. Now, that's not to say that things have been easy or cakewalk, but it has been to say that the market just kind of keeps going up. Now, for having a little fun, Eric, good to see you guys. And we'll do some little housekeeping here. Remember, for anybody who's new here, to subscribe, to like, to hit the alerts thing. That way you actually know when we're coming on. I do this every Wednesday at, 10:30? I'm actually on the West Coast. So if you guys can't tell, I'm in a different background. I'm not in Austin. I'm not in the office. And I'm not at my parents' house. I'm actually up in Mukilteo, which is north of Seattle in Washington. And I'm overlooking the Puget Sound, which... it would be great if you guys could see this. We will post a link to kind of this picture that I'm on my laptop. I got my second screen. Sounds a little cheesy, but I'm living the trader lifestyle. This is what I like to do. I like to be able to work from anywhere I want. I got my camera set up. This is the kind of stuff that's really fun. And I'm in a gorgeous place today, watching the sun come up over these hills and looking at the water. So it's great. And then tomorrow I'll be hanging out with Friday I'll be hanging out with a buddy in Tacoma at his place. So if you guys are in Simpler Trading, you'll see me there. And then I head back to Austin on Friday. So I'll be home for a while. Anyway, so let's talk about this. Yeah, Sean, I am flying around. So you got me onto another thing. So if anybody's having fun with this, take a look at this. We posted it on one of my social medias, but this is my dad and I. We have a Glass Air 3, which is a kit built. We started building it in 1990, finished it in 1992, and we decided to go up last week, and we just flew around Mount Rainier. The weather looked pretty good, and so we just went up there. So I hope you guys kind of enjoy that. I've got one other video we'll show a little bit later. I don't want to be boring too many people who've come here to look at the market and see what's going on. And Harry, yeah, it is majestic. As I said, I have a picture of what my trading setup looks like right now, overlooking everything. So we'll get that posted, and so you guys can all see what I'm doing out here and around. And Parker will be posting that too, but where can you get the Moxie indicator? It'll be simplertrading.com/stocks. All right, I'm going to leave you or start off with this one. This is actually a recommendation that I put out, suggestion. I don't know what the legal term that I need to use. I bought this. You guys can choose to buy it if you want or not. This is ATRS. It is a really relatively cheap stock at about $3. It's got good volume, plenty of volume. About a little over 1 million shares per day. And I was looking at this. And this is actually a really good example of what I've been seeing in the market lately, namely that a lot of stocks haven't, after the initial, let's call it crash, after the initial coronavirus, downturn, everything like that, some of them have sprung back. Others have basically just gone sideways. And they've gone sideways for so long that they actually just worked their way through the daily 50, worked their way through resistance. So you can see here that price was able to work its way past the daily 50. It's the magenta colored line. And so they now, just through time, literally by just going sideways long enough, that price actually was able to get past these resistance areas. And you can see, look what happened when initially price was able to get past the daily 50. It shot up. But where did it go? It went right to the daily 200 and got rejected. So you have to realize that there's kind of this pinball situation going on. Now, more time has gone by, and what has it done? It has now come down into support of the daily 50 SMA. And then the whole time, the Moxie indicator has been coming up and up and up and up. So now it's kind of bounced around a little bit, but look what it's doing now. Notice how it's just been hanging out right there. That's a nice, tight consolidation. The 8 is over the 21. The 8 EMA is over the 21 EMA. We've got a squeeze. And then how about on the hourly chart? This thing's kind of been bouncing around a little bit, trying to figure out its oscillations, but what has it done? It's kind of calmed down a little bit. And then if I were to zoom in, so we can get a real good close look at this, and bear with me, my laptop is working overtime because it is running a lot of programs right now trying to make all this stuff happen. There we go. And what you can see is I was keeping an eye on this because if any of you have been here before, maybe give me a why. I always like to get a little bit of engagement from my class students. But if you guys are familiar with what I call the trampoline move, and you all should basically be familiar with the trampoline move unless you're new here. So kind of let me know, yes, no, if this is making sense. A trampoline move is when price dips below the hourly, or below the 50. And on this case, I'm looking at the hourly chart. But it dips below the 50 SMA, and the Moxie indicator is above 0. So what that tells me is that with the indicator above 0, that's telling me momentum and energy is positive, that it wants to go up. And then what we're then looking at is price dipped below a moving average that I usually use for guidance. And so if you're using this without the indicator, you might think like, oh, it just failed the moving average. I got to get out, or that's a problem. But the beauty about the Moxie indicator is that what it's telling you is that the overall theme, the overall energy and momentum is still to the long side. So basically any dips are buyable. Any real dips just kind of below the 50 are actually good buying opportunities. And this is why I call it the trampoline move, because it dips down and shoots back up. Imagine like you just jump on the trampoline and shoot back up. So yeah, I'm getting a bunch of people who are talking about this. So Harry just explained it. We'll get into this. You'll be seeing this over and over because the trampoline move is one of my best setups. I love this thing because it's a good low point buy, and then it shoots right back up because it's like buoyancy. You got to think like a trampoline, it just shoots you right back up. So we just had one of those, and I wanted to verify that it was going to work. So what I do is then I do two things. I look down at the lower time frame, 15-minute time frame, and then I also make sure that the hourly looks good. And what did we get today? We got price back above the 15-minute 50, And you can see price kind of pulled right into the hourly 50. I mean, this thing is looking beautiful. Not to mention, we also have another squeeze on the hourly chart, and we had another squeeze on the 15-minute. I mean, everything for this thing was just loaded up. And even though the market took off this morning, like gap up and go, and a lot of things have really taken off, I then start looking for opportunities that haven't quite taken off yet. Now, some people might say, oh, it's a laggard. You know, if it didn't take off with the market, well, then that means it's not very good. Not always. You know, sometimes it takes a little percolating for some stocks to take off. And if you catch it just right, like we did this morning, so I sent this alert out to my subscribers, like, I don't know, an hour and a half ago. Saw this because it was kind of on my watch list. Here's an example. If you guys want to see it, this is what I do. I just take a legal sheet and I just write a bunch of names on it as I go through either the day or my watch list. And I've got a watch list of, I don't know, a few hundred names. I look through them every day, but not everything matters and not all of them have something relevant. So I take the ones that I really like and I write it down here, and then I kind of go back through the list, and the ones that are really important, I usually put a dot next to it. And then what I do is I go through my short, we have a program that tells us how much short interest is there. And you guys can get this too on any other program, usually FinViz or something. And then I put how much, what percent short interest is next to it. Now, ATRS has a low short interest, but something else like AAOI has a high short interest. So I'll be keeping an idea on this one. Eric, how long was it on my watch list? Probably, what day is today? Wednesday? Probably Monday. You know, unless I started going through stocks over the weekend, so maybe it popped up on my watch list on Sunday. But this thing started to pop up on my watch list in, like, I don't know, 3 different ways. Number one, popped up last week because if I were to scan, it showed up on the daily Moxie scan, price trigger, like when that happened. If I scanned again, it would have shown up just the other day when the hourly Moxie price trigger showed up. And if I had scanned yesterday, it looks like, then it would have shown up here as a hourly trampoline scan. So this thing was popping up in 3 different ways on my scans. And if I really wanted to break out, I could have scanned with squeezes, you know, searching for an hourly squeeze or searching for a daily squeeze. And so we went in, and you can see the line. This is my entry. Come on, computer. There you go. There was my entry. This is my stop loss. And you guys remember, like, I operate with stops. Now, I don't use options, so maybe it's a little bit easier, but you know, if you use options, basically for me, the way I say is if it's doing what I want it to do, great. If price breaks this certain moving average or does something or isn't what I want to do, then whatever the option is doing, I got to get out. Doesn't matter if the option is down 10% or down 50%. If price does what I don't want it to do based here, I have to get out of whatever strategy I'm in. That's personally how I believe and how I feel it. So then you can see the reason why I had such a tight stop. If we look here, let me keep zooming in so we really get a good close look on this one. And yeah, hopefully there you go. So what you can see is yesterday we did this nice little bounce here, and look at this, just beautiful on the hourly chart. Just flagged right into the hourly 50. So for today, if this thing was going to work, I knew I was going to have a tight stop because it's going to work if it's going to work. I want price to stay above the 15-minute 50. That's kind of my, if it's going to work, it's going to start somewhere. It's going to start engaging on a moving average someplace. And my soonest moving average that it's going to be engaging with is going to be the 15-minute 50. So that's why I could have even set it tighter, but I want to make sure we get a little bit of fudge room just in case there's an errant move, and I don't want to just get stopped out for no reason like that. Yeah. Yeah, good to see you all. Let's see. So nowadays I see hourly and 15-minute do not agree. How do I resolve it? 15-minute Moxie and daily bullish, whereas hourly bearish. What do you do in that situation? So CCAR, boy, this has been the kind of market where things don't always agree. I have been having to work overtime to really kind of tweak my entire system, to tweak my brain, to figure out, okay, how do we need to adapt to this market, which is more stuff that I've been writing about. So I totally relate and sympathize with you that we are getting a lot of mixed signals. Let me actually show you, I think this will be a good example. Come on, all right. Okay, let's go over to W. So this is Wayfair. Now, let's get all this loaded. Is doing a mixed situation for me. If we look, sorry, I'm trying to let my computer catch up here. All right. Now, if we look at W, and a subscriber brought this up to me yesterday when I was in the options room, and he said, "Hey, what's your take on this?" And I said, "Well, according to the hourly chart, I can't take it yet." And this will be fun. So you guys pay attention to this. I'm going to probably go through 3 different tickers, and I'm going to show this one that worked here and this one that worked differently, and then I'm going to show you gold that it was a good thing I paid attention to my rules because that worked out. So this has been a very challenging market. I generally have to stick to my rules, and otherwise I miss some stuff, but then it keeps me out of some other stuff that I'd rather miss out than to get damaged. So let's kind of walk in this, and I'll show you the whole process of what I deal with. So with Wayfair, when this was brought to me, I said, first off, it makes sense that it bounced. If you see here, price bounced right off of the hourly 200, right? It's a tree branch. It's a common thing that something's going to just bounce off of. Now, if on the hourly chart, it's not a long entry for me because price is over the 50 and the indicator is below 0, and there's no divergence. So yeah, Parker, you're not the only one. Trust me, you are not the only one. This market has been insane. So there's no divergence. So on the hourly chart, I technically can't go long. It's not fulfilling my requirements. But what in this market I've been having to do is step down to something like the 15-minute time frame and frame that I can trust that gives me enough nimbleness. And I've been finding it on the 15-minute time frame. And essentially when price, you can see price down, indicator up. So my Moxie method is still working. I still have divergent setups. This kind of setup here that I'm showing you on the 15 is usually what I prefer to take on the hourly, but we're not getting that in this kind of market. So not only do I have this positive divergence setup on the 15-minute, I also know that price is coming into support of the hourly 200s. And I got 2 things that kind of work in my favor. And what I've been doing is I've been having to take signals and trades off of the 15-minute time frame. And you can see that once price got over the 15-minute 50, it's been working out. So if you can go down to that time frame, if you're comfortable operating in that time frame, then this is where I've been having to play. But now I have to kind of keep 2 things in my head at once, because what's the problem? Eventually this may not work out because price should not be over the 50 when the indicator is below 0. Now let me show you an example of that. So GLD. Let me take a sip of water here while I'm talking to everybody. I'm telling you, living the life. You guys have SodaStream? I like this carbonated water. It's delicious. It's just very strong. All right, bear with me while I get my computer working. Come on. I need to work overtime right now. All right, so there we go. Now, what I'm looking at is notice the same situation. You see how GLD, as with W, you see how price was over the hourly 50 and the Moxie indicator was below 0? Now I know this is gold, might be a little bit trickier, all that kind of stuff, but still, the rules and the signals were there. I can't take a long trade on that time frame if price is over the 50 and the indicator is below 0. It's not supposed to be up there. So Harry just was talking about a regular trampoline move earlier, and for the rest of you who are saying yes and no, and Eric, yeah, that when price is below the hourly 50 and the indicator is above 0, that's a trampoline move, just like what we showed on ATRS. Now flip that upside down. Just flip it upside down. When price is over the 50, but the indicator is below 0, that's an inverse trampoline move, just upside down, right? Isn't that exactly what's happening here with gold and with W? Price is over the 50, but the indicator is below 0, telling me this shouldn't exist. And what happened? This thing did a trampoline move to the downside. You guys see how violent that thing was to the downside? Now, like W, what I could do if I saw a reason to take a trade, I can take a trade on a 15-minute time frame, and you can see that here on GLD. Notice price first got over the 15-minute 50, and then it tested the 15-minute 50, and then it moved up. So this is where we, Parker, as you're saying, we're getting mixed signals. Well, we can get a trade on a 15-minute time frame, but understand that you are going against something on the hourly time frame, and then you got to keep your leash real tight. And you can see that as of, it must have been yesterday, that price broke the 15-minute 50. So this was only a 15-minute time frame. This trade only existed on the 15-minute time frame in that scale. And I knew that I was going against something on a higher time frame, that was going to be problematic. And then you could see that that thing just broke and then just went straight down. So that was a fairly good example of that one. And then let me show you MSFT, Microsoft. Joe, so that sounds like either you need to reach out to our tech support. There should be, I'm glad, thank you, number one, for purchasing it. I'm sure you'll be happy once we get it kind of figured out for you. But there should be a whole lot of instruction that came with it, either documentation, we have a frequently asked questions for that, and I made a video for how to install it. So make sure you kind of go through that, make sure you've got everything lined up, because I'm sure there's just, I will say I'm pretty sure it's user error because we've had people buy this indicator and they're happy with it. Can't get it, reach out to customer support. It's probably going to be Duncan that'll help you out. And he knows this thing inside and out and kind of get you resolved. So make sure to reach out to us. You have the product. We want to make sure it's working out for you. All right, so Microsoft. Here is another example. And then I'll show you Shopify after this real quick. So notice here with Microsoft, see the same thing? Price should not be over the 50 if the indicator is below 0. So that's how you make sure, using the Moxie indicator, that's how you make sure you don't get suckered into a trade like this. Because what are you probably thinking? Hey, look, this thing bounced off the hourly 200, just like W, right? And it shot up. And you're like, oh, this is going to be great. And look, it's back over the moving average. And this thing's going to keep going. But the Moxie indicator is telling you no, it shouldn't be going because it's underneath 0. This is not a correct situation. This is an inverse trampoline move. And so what happens? This thing fails the 50 SMA and comes back down again. So right now we're in some shop. I'm still kind of waiting for it to see what's going to happen. Now let me show you Shopify real quick. See if we get that going. Now, one kind of thing, a little bit of housekeeping, then I'll show you guys a fun video. I got all the social medias. If you want to go check out things, kind of see where I'm at right now, as I said, looking over the nice Puget Sound and Mukilteo right now. We got all these things. We'll be posting it. I've been hanging out up in Washington for the last 5 weeks during quarantine with the family, and I got to say, it hasn't been too bad. So it's been pretty nice out here. And then I got the Twitters, we got all that kind of stuff. So go check that out. And then let me show you this other fun video. Get this over here. Again, asking my computer to do just a ton of work right now. Yeah, call me Luis. I'm sure. Well, the connection isn't bad. I am on very, very fast internet. If anything, it's probably my computer that is struggling to take care of all this stuff. So yeah, take a look at this. Actually, we'll start over. Make sure that was good. There's the instrument panel. Cares about the inside of the glass air that we fly. Whole lots of gauges and instruments. And I don't know. Has anybody seen? Has anybody seen the inside of an airplane before and kind of seen all this stuff? So this is what I grew up in. I was basically like 3 when I started flying airplanes and riding with my dad and something like this. So we got that, and that's all the radios. And then we come up there, engine, propeller, and then a nice view right over Mount Rainier. So maybe I'll keep that one for a little bit later. Let me kind of minimize things. Yeah, sorry guys, it's probably on my end, asking my computer to do a lot. I was trying to close down as much stuff as possible, but I need like all these things up and running. All right, so Shopify. Take a look at this. So if you guys noticed, the same kind of situation is existing. So notice that price has bounced off of the hourly 200. Common place for price to bounce. And it's been holding sideways, and then it did finally, you see the Moxie indicator trending up. So it was telling you like, yeah, it's probably not going to roll over right now because the 15-minute Moxie indicator was trending up like that, and then it popped up. Now, if this is going to be a long trade, in my rule book, if this is going to be a long trade, I can take it on the 15-minute time frame as long as price stays above the 15-minute 50. Now, I don't know how long that's going to be. I don't know how long price is going to follow the 15-minute 50. It could roll over tomorrow, but that's the only parameter that I have. And what I will say about that then is we need to be aware that we are then dealing with this on the hourly chart, that price is running into the underside of an hourly 50 and the Moxie indicator is very much below 0. So there's a good chance that this will either go nowhere or go down. And these are the things that we need to be aware of and careful of. So if you guys start kind of seeing this stuff out there, make sure you understand these mixed signals. We're getting a lot of mixed signals. Find a a time frame that works for you. Find a time frame that doesn't chop you out too much. You know, if you want to be on a longer term time frame, great. I just had another friend. What was that ticker? I'm gonna forget that ticker, but NOV. It's an oil ticker. And she was saying, hey, you know, these things are looking good, and a lot of these are looking good. Well, for me, NOV, oil generally, I don't really trade it because it's so messy and it's just all over the place, and it doesn't follow the kind of rules that I need for the way my brain works. But for maybe, I've been talking about the 15-minute time frame. Well, this thing clearly does not work well on the 15-minute time frame. But if you gotta zoom out, and maybe depending on how things work for you and your method and your system and your eyes, zooming out and kind of giving it a little bit or more room and playing around, then zooming out to something like maybe the hourly, but definitely the daily. The daily doesn't look too bad. It's kind of bouncing around inside of a range, not really doing too much. And now price is starting to actually get over, just like I spoke about earlier, how price has gone sideways for so long that a lot of these stocks are now just sideways moving through resistance and turning it into support. Like, look at this. Look at NOV and how it has simply just cut through the daily 50 and now is turning the daily 50 into support. And not only is it turning it into support, we now have the Moxie indicator crossing zero, firing, and now we have the daily 50 turning up, and we have the 8 over the 21. This thing, for all I can see, looks to be primed and ready to move up on the daily chart. Now, it looks like garbage and almost untradeable on something like the hourly and the 15, but this is where I'm saying is you have to kind of find the correct time frame that works for you and your eye. And if it means zooming out to something like this and being able to see that and say, oh, okay, that's where I can go, then you have to find those things that work for you like that. Oh yeah, Sean, thanks. Yeah, you're out in Ireland. Mourne Mountain. Yep, that would be great. Let me know. Yeah, guys, communicate with me. Well, this is fantastic. It's been a blessing that me being with Simpler for a little over a year now. I was trading by myself, running my own company for 7 years, and while I loved it and gave me a lot of freedom, I can still do what I want to do. But I'd go up to Colorado and go skiing on a Tuesday, just in the middle of the day, and it was fantastic. So now that I'm here, I've got a bigger audience, a bigger network of people, and I love seeing the feedback and connecting with people. Like yesterday, I was telling everyone, hey, I'm going to be up in Mukilteo tomorrow, and one guy pops up. He's like, hey, I lived in Mukilteo for 15 years. Freaking great. And it's like, man, talk about a small world. So it's great with all the people that I've connected. So Sean, yeah, absolutely. Hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or whatever you guys want to do. And, we're here to chat. Sometimes trading can be a little bit quiet and a little bit solo, so I enjoy having that kind of community. Anyway, let me kind of we'll just do a quick wrap up. Got my half hour. Let's go back to the SPY because I don't even think I talked about that today. And I did hear a piece of news, and I think this is what's goosing the market, is that I want to say I heard it was a military doctor said something like, we should have a coronavirus vaccine by the end of the year, which 6 months from now. I mean, yeah, we're 6 months from now. So that's exciting. That's good news. And what you could see, there was a bit of a tip and a giveaway, because if anybody saw the market yesterday, the market actually closed right at the end of the day, popping up pretty significantly. Like there was a big move to the upside. So if you look here on the 15-minute time frame, you can see right there that price just ended straight up. So there was a really good dead giveaway that price was going to keep going up today. And also, I love my moving averages. Look where price bounced right into yesterday. It was right into the 15-minute 50. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the news or the technicals? This is the kind of stuff that really fascinates me. I've written a couple articles about it. If we looked at that, I'd say, hey, that thing moved because it bounced off the 15-minute 50. But then we also could say, well, maybe it moved because of the news. Which one came first? Which one, set up looking for news, or did the news actually move it? Yeah, guys, this is always recorded. So as soon as I end here, which I'm going to be wrapping up right about, this will post to Facebook. It'll be on there. It'll be permanent. So you guys can see this forever. Everything lives on the internet forever. And just as kind of a little wrap up and have fun with some stuff, I'll show you this thing again in case anybody wasn't around and in case I had any technical issues. But this is where me going flying with my dad, we have a Glass Air 3, it's kit built. It's a pretty fast airplane. It's like Corvette of the sky. But this is the instrument panel for anybody who hasn't seen maybe the inside of the airplane or an airplane. And yeah, we need to know what every single one of these does. That's how we can control all the systems of the airplane. But this is us flying over Mount Rainier last week. Weather was pretty decent. So we're up at about 10,000 feet, having a good time with this thing. Really pretty neat. You know, I gotta say, I feel very special to be able to do what I do. And that essentially my whole family has been in aviation. Both grandparents were in the Air Force. My uncle was in the Navy and he flew. There's my dad. And then there's a kind of an inside shot of us flying around Mount Rainier. So yeah, I just like to show this because I also know there are a lot of pilots out there, and it's yet another way to be able to connect with everybody. And trading allows me to do these kind of things. Like as I said, I'm right up Mukilteo right now, just looking over some nice views. So okay, we'll kind of wrap it up there. I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. The stock market's very happy right now, so we're happy. Let's take advantage of that. Let's hope that this, the only caution I will say is since price is so high, it doesn't always seem to like to stay up there. Kind of when it gets out of these outer bands, they like to come back. So make sure you're capturing your money. Make sure when things get too high, too extended, you're pulling some money in because you never know what's going to happen next. And just be prudent about cashing things in this kind of market. All right. So thanks again, everyone, and I will see you next week.